West Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't understand why this is an issue.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 KNUS.
Mile High City, Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. We got a lot to talk about today. Bill, SNAP benefits about to be on pause coming November 1st. The government shutdown affecting welfare at this point as it continues to march on. How many days are we? What is the White House shutdown clock? We are at 28 days, 8 hours, 1 minute, and 52 seconds.
Now, record's 31, 35? What is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Think we're going to break
close.
it?
Yeah, it was in the 30s. So Bill and I both.
Way wrong
on this one. And I've talked to friends who work for the federal government, and this they come to me and they go, Jeff, what do you think's happening? And I go, I don't know. This is a totally unique shutdown.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out, a political strategist pointed out to me that if this was really working in the Democrats' favor, as it has in some shutdowns in the past, you would see it on the front page of every single newspaper out there. Day 27, day 28. But you don't see it. So it's not covered in the same way that they have in the past. It seems like the groups are more entrenched than they've been in the past. And it doesn't seem like anyone's budging. And I don't see the little gangs of 9 that are popping up that you've seen in the past.
And I haven't seen the same necessary coverage on the other side of the aisle as well, as far as the conservative side of the aisle. I don't see them pushing. It's, the moniker of the Schumer shutdown isn't sticking. That's not necessarily being used colloquially. The idea of a Democrat shutdown also seems to only hold true if you're talking to Republicans. And blame when you get into unaffiliated is almost equal on both parts, as far as they're blaming both Republicans and Democrats, again, within margin of error of most polls. So there is a difference between the two. And I'm not certain that either side at this point feels enough pain in order to make a settlement. We've talked about, and this is kind of a weird analogy, but we've talked about why Vladimir Putin doesn't seem to be willing to really look at genuine peace inside of the conflict with Ukraine, because he doesn't feel like he's having any pain points. There's nothing that he's losing per se at this point, so why would he? And I don't think either side is perceiving themselves as losing. Question I've got for you, my friend, is right now, I might be placing this a little high, but let's do an under-over. Under-over, does this go to 50 days? Do you think it's under or over? At first, I was going to do, 40, but I'm thinking that's way too easy. That's a couple of weeks. So do we go to 50?
Going.
Yeah.
Dude, the SNAP benefits is going to be an interesting wild card.
Yeah.
Right?
There are going to be two, and we're going to discuss them both this morning. The two will be the SNAP benefits, and the other one is going
Obamacare
to be
subsidies.
Yep, when you start looking at what the bills are for next year. When you look at enrollment opening up, and here in Colorado, they were talking about the benefits, your annual cost to go up by 100%, if not more.
Yep.
So that when you're in that era, in that level of the economic stratosphere down on the bottom, there are very few people that can withstand a 100% increase in anything in their budget. So, and that would include visits to McDonald's. So that's a problem. So those are the two pain points, but I'm not certain that either side has the strongest messaging in order to, take the day and say that we won the shutdown.
So what do you think? You think it goes past 50?
Yeah, I do. I think the real question for me, and I hate to do this, and the whole idea of speak this into truth, that do I actually send this out into the universe? I'm actually curious at this point whether or not we get close to 100. I think at 75, this gets complicated because I don't see the pressures I thought we'd see by now.
Well, what do you think about, we're jumping ahead to the 7 o'clock hour, but what do you think about Josh Hawley going, look, if we can't agree on these broad things, let's start voting on them one by one. Here's the SNAP benefits bill. Here's the military pay bill. Let's maybe try to piece this thing apart and see if we can stop some of the more painful aspects of it.
I can see that, but then the same group that would have to tell me why then did we do the one big beautiful bill and we didn't vote on that one by one? Why is it okay to vote on it one by one here and slowly reopen things when we were passing the biggest, beautifulest bill ever, and it all had to be done in one fell swoop? If we need to open up the government, my argument would be you don't piecemeal it. You go through and you do it because, and this is why I would argue, well, okay, I'm going to say that for later. I'll argue against that later. I don't want to do it. Yeah, 7 o'clock hour. Yeah, I want to do it. Yeah, because
we're jumping right
I'm jumping. Yeah, I'm going to jump. I'm going to hold on to that one. Yeah, got to hold that.
News coming out of Douglas County, a teacher picked up by ICE, not at school, but when they visited one of the ICE facilities for a check-in, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement picking them up, sending them back to Texas. What's the story happening here? We'll give you that. Watch the Tucker-Nick Fuentes discussion that took place. I have some thoughts on that. We're also going to talk with DJ Summers, Director of Communications and Research Operations. Common Sense Institute's got a new report out on crime. And Bill, you remember yesterday we talked to Danielle Jurinsky,
yes,
and she was like, we're not settling on the crime issue. We are arresting the bad guys. We're unleashing the power of the police to make our community safe, and it's actually working.
Yeah, it is.
And so report coming that things are getting a lot better in Aurora thanks to leadership like Danielle Jurinsky and just being commonsensical when it comes to being tough on crime. But DJ Summers will be joining us from Common Sense Institute, 8 o'clock hour, and then the Obamacare premiums. Is this a bed we made ourselves? We put an expiration date on these extensions, and now it's coming due. So we'll get into that in the 9 o'clock hour. So lots to talk about. Now it's time, though, for news and comment. Mr. Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, 26 and clear. Expecting a high of 59 today. Maybe we'll get to 60, 61. Sun will be out. It'll be a beautiful day. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the Fed expected to cut interest rates today following a string of poor labor markets coupled with news that inflation has slowed.
It's been day 5 and I have not received no food stamps. My disability checks is on hold. My cash benefits is not coming no more. They're still pending. It is the taxpayer's job to pay for my kids to eat and for my kids to be taken care of.
Colorado has joined a coalition of states that is suing the federal government over the pending suspension of SNAP benefit payments. The coalition of about 24 states sued the U.S. Department of Agriculture Tuesday. The group wants the agency to use emergency funds to pay SNAP benefits in November. They need to scream to all their Democratic friends, and all they have to do is vote for the CR. DJT in South Korea this morning, 47 last hour.
In 9 months, we've lifted over 600,000 Americans off food stamps. Wages for workers are rising. at the fastest pace in more than 60 years. And meanwhile, energy prices are down, gasoline prices are down, grocery prices are down, mortgage rates are down, despite the fact that we have an incompetent head of the Fed. He's incompetent. I call him Jerome Too Late. He's always too late. Jerome Too Late Powell. But he's out of there in another couple of months. We'll be very happy about that.
I'm sure the South Koreans are enjoying that. They presented the president with a gold crown this morning, and the left will just absolutely talk about that all day. But last night, DJT ruled out running for a third term.
And I would say that if you read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad. I missed it. But we have a lot of great people.
Tomorrow, he'll meet with Chinese leader Xi in Busan, South Korea. So the Schumer shutdown inching closer to 30 days now. It's day 29. And Jake Tapper, CNN, actually holding Democrat Melanie Stansbury's feet to the fire.
Let me be clear. The administration is choosing to starve American children with money that they already have appropriated.
I'm not applauding their tactics.
By the White House.
Well,
this is a choice by the White House.
This
they
is
are
also,
choosing
Congresswoman,
to
this
cut
is
off
also a
food
choice
assistance.
by Senate Democrats
No,
to not
it is
vote
not.
to open the government. Yes, it is. I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it because they want Medicaid funds restored. They're doing it because they want Obamacare premiums to be extended past the end of the year. I understand the reasoning.
Sir, let me just be clear. The money for contingency plans is sitting there. That is why the states are suing. The White House is withholding funds from
2 to 3
children
weeks worth
to
of SNAP
have
funds.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it may not be a big deal to you, but let me
It is
tell
a big
you
deal
that
to
for
me.
the grandparents, for grandparents
It is a big deal
that
to me.
literally are feeding their children.
My point
to
is that
not
it's a
have
short-term
money
solution.
in those accounts.
It's
it
a
doesn't
short-term.
matter. At the end of the day, people need to be able to feed their families, and
So CNN turning a little bit. Hurricane Melissa has made landfall in eastern Cuba overnight as a dangerous Category 3 storm, packing winds up to 120 miles an hour. Over 700,000 people have been evacuated. The hurricane expected to move offshore toward the Bahamas after battering southeastern Cuba. America is getting skinnier, and weight loss drugs may be a contributing factor, according to a self-reported Gallup poll. For the first time in more than 15 years, obesity rates in the U.S. have fallen from almost 40% in 2022 to 37% today. That's an estimated 7.6 million.
Great news.
Fewer.
I knew we were going to figure it out via a pill.
Yeah, it's great news,
or a
or
shot,
is it?
or whatever. Do you take Ozempic via shots? Is it?
I don't.
Shot?
I have no
Shot,
idea. All
shot,
I know
shot,
is it's
shot,
expensive, and yeah, that's what I hear.
Wow.
I mean, that's what everybody says. And then once you get off, I mean, you can't get off it. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
And how
you're
does
on
it
the
work?
rest.
I think it. I think
Good
it affects
question.
your desire for food. I think it just
so.
kind of turns
That's
that
what-
off.
Yep, that is what I've heard as well. I don't know. It kind of scares me. You know, you got to do it the right way, or the natural way. If you exercise and eating well, two things that I don't do well right now.
Yeah, I know. No, at the end of the day, personal responsibility.
Yes, there you go. Imagine.
But I
that,
understand.
right?
I also understand
Yeah.
that there's just some body realities. Like,
True.
I was thin as a rail. They used to call me Toothpick when I was in elementary school. The bullies would. Because I was so thin. And then I hit my 40s, and I'm like, whoa, where's this? It's just little pop belly. Popped right up. Like,
See, what's funny?
I was like, I can run for years and can't get rid of this thing.
See, you're looking at yourself in the mirror like, oh my God, I'm so fat. Everyone else looks at you, Jeff, and goes, wow, that dude is so skinny, man. Must be nice to be so skinny, so thin, Toothpick.
Oh, third
That's a
grade.
good nickname.
Third grade, I'm getting pushed down on the playground. Toothpick.
Oh man. See, why did it always comes back to the bullying story? This just makes me sad. Top of you turned out great. Top of the third, Shohei Ohtani last night to Vladimir Guerrero, 1-on. Jays down 1-0.
Hit well to deep left center, and this one will go. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. lines one into the seats in left center, and the Blue Jays take the lead.
And the Blue Jays beat the Dodgers 6-2 in Game 4 of the World Series. The series is now even at 2 games apiece, with Game 5 slated for tonight at Chavez Ravine in L.A. Avalanche lose last night. It's 23 in Louisville, 24 in Lakewood, 26 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on this hump day. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Cool but sunny weather on tap for this Wednesday for Denver in the Front Range. Going to be a nice stretch of autumn weather to take us through the rest of the week, through Halloween and into the weekend. Temperatures will be 50s to near 60 degrees. Clear tonight, low to mid-30s. Mostly sunny and 50s Thursday, near 30 Thursday night. We will have a few more clouds on Halloween. Halloween, we're sideswiped by a front, but it will just produce clouds, keep us cool in the low 50s. But we're going to warm to the 60s, even some 70-degree temperatures possible this weekend. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Bill, I'd like to declare victory.
We won? Yay. I like winning.
We helped a young girl get her parking space painted the way she wanted to. With those,
awesome.
Controversial and explicit Bible verses.
Yeah.
This
Nice.
from our friends over at First Liberty who joined us earlier this week. Gosh, I don't even know what day it is. It's Wednesday? Was it Monday?
Yeah.
Monday?
It's Monday.
She joined us
Yeah,
Monday.
Monday. Yep,
Okay,
Monday.
The lawyer did. But this is the email we got last night from First Liberty. Colorado high school senior can add Christian message to parking space after law firm sent a letter.
Oh,
Sometimes that's
wonderful.
all it needs.
Yep, exactly.
When
that's
FIRE,
nice.
the free speech people represent
Yeah.
me, they just sent a letter and things got turned around.
Nice. That's excellent.
This is the press release today, which was yesterday. First Liberty Institute announced that Academy School District 20 will allow Sophia Shoemaker to repaint her parking space with her original design that included a Bible verse and religious images. The district will also update its guidelines and permit students throughout the district to include religious messages on their parking spots. The First Amendment protects students' private expressions of faith in public schools, said Keisha Russell. You remember Keisha? She did a great job on our program on Monday. She's senior counsel for First Liberty Institute. We're encouraged that the school district will allow students like Sophia to update their decorated spaces with religious themes for the remainder of the year, and we hope that it will make such a policy permanent so future students can enjoy the same opportunities. Sophia Shoemaker is a senior at Rampart High School in Colorado Springs. She's a Christian who loves to express her faith through artwork. Rampart High School allows seniors, for a small fee, to reserve and decorate their school parking space as it, quote, builds school spirit, beautifies the campus, and creates lasting memories, unquote. Bill, my only sadness is that they didn't allow us to do this when we were high school students.
Yeah,
I could only imagine but your parking spot would have been painted.
Yeah, mine would have been a problem. I would have had to go through several reviews. And I think the school had a problem because there were other messages that were Christian at other high schools inside the district.
Yep.
That's going to be a huge problem. However, there was a time, this would have been, middle school. One of the things they wanted to do, we got a whole bunch of secondhand desks at the school I was going to. And so they wanted to let us individualize our desk. So we were allowed to paint our desks. And that was kind of cool. And I will admit, though, unfortunately, a number of us broke copyright laws. I was not a good enough painter, but there were people that did Garfield. There were people that did, the Nerds Candy.
That's like not really a
oh, no, not at all.
Copyright.
No,
You're not making money off of it.
No, not at all. No. But I know that if you would have put like one guy, this is the time when Izod was really hot, so he had the Lescott Izod, because that's like all he wore. So he had that alligator on the front of his desk. And so if you put that on the parking lot, I could see someone at the school going, that's a logo. You can't put that on there. Don't do that. Shut up. Anyway.
I could only imagine senior year Bill Thorpe, people walking by going, oh yeah, that's definitely Bill's.
Oh, they would have known immediately.
Because it would have been a mix of soccer, music.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All honesty, and mostly black, honestly. There would have been,
Mostly black?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. My buddies and I competed senior year in a volleyball tournament at school, and our team name was Morbid Chain of Events. It was fantastic. Oh, yeah. My parking lot would not have been, my parking space would not have been allowed.
I was 90s Christian man walking around my little WWJD bracelet. I would have been trying to win you to the faith.
See, the thing is that I was already part of the faith. I just was, I just was trying to break some of the rules. And, this would be an easy way to do it. If, about that time in my life, if you would open up my closet, at least 75% of the t-shirt, no, probably 90% of the t-shirts that were in the closet were all bands. All of them. Yeah. I mean, all sorts of them. So it was band t-shirts all the time, and still about 50% of the shirts that I have are bands. Yeah, so not much has changed, but that's what it would have been.
There you go.
And the colors would have been mostly gray, black, white, and then some red, some purple, some greens, but not universal. Yeah.
Previous guidelines prohibited messages that the school deems, quote, offensive, negative, rude, gang-related, political, religious, or trademarked images.
Yeah.
Golly, who cares if you paint Garfield or the New York Yankees? I mean, the idea that some lawyer is going to send a cease and desist.
The other one you really got to worry about is Disney, because they do not screw with the mouse. They're serious about it.
So
but
dumb.
Everybody else, I think, it'd be okay. Everybody else would be cool.
Why wouldn't you want that promotion if you're Disney? In my mind,
they
I understand if Mickey's running around with a knife, decapitating people. Yeah, maybe not. But
Disney just plays different. They just do. And that comes from, I got a buddy that actually was a jock on the Disney radio stations, the national broadcast. He was a national guy.
No, they protect it.
Yeah. Do they ever?
Rampart School District contains several schools that did allow religious messages. I do find it funny they throw religious messages in there with trademarked and gang-related messages. Sophia requested to paint her space, but with a shepherd on a hill, a staff, and a sheep, along with a Bible verse. School officials denied her request based on the school's guidelines. Sophia eventually asked to only put 1 Corinthians 13:4 on her space, but was told that it would likely not be approved either. Now, the school district has approved Sophia to paint her original design with religious imagery following our demand letter. Well done, First Liberty Institute, and tip of the hat to the Jeff and Bill Show for helping them secure their victory. All right. Bill, I watched the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes discussion. It's well over 2 hours.
That's 2 hours you'll never get back in your life.
Yeah, but it's, as a conservative movement guy, I want to understand where the movement might be going.
I personally didn't want to punish myself that way for 2 hours, so I did not. I passed.
I don't think Nick Fuentes is genuine in there. I've had interactions with him that were vicious, frankly. And racist and weird, and I didn't find him to be likable. He tried to speak at the Western Conservative Summit and sent a little pitch to speak at the Western Conservative Summit, and I denied it because I think he is racist. And that doesn't fall within the conservative movement, in my mind. And so was intrigued to watch. And what I found fascinating was the lack of depth.
Curious. What do you mean by that?
So towards the end, you get some kind of good conversations around social conservative values, right? Marijuana, addiction to pornography, the impact that that's having on our society, particularly young men. And Nick Fuentes has a strong audience with young men. And so that had some depth to it. But the initial parts were rather shallow. And what struck me, particularly in the first, I'd say, hour and a half of the conversation, was it's almost like the conservative movement doesn't exist prior to Trump for Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
So there's no depth of philosophy around what it means to be a conservative outside of kind of America first. And then it becomes almost purely reactionary to whatever the left's doing. So I believe that the left is obsessed with race. I believe that the left's always been obsessed with race. And so when you get, for instance, Joe Biden saying, I'm going to pick a black woman to be a Supreme Court justice, and starts there, that's an example of being obsessed with race from my perspective, as opposed to going, we're going to find the most qualified person to lead this important seat on the U.S. Supreme Court. And so Nick Fuentes almost becomes reactionary to that. He goes, okay, you're going to focus on elevating black people, we're going to focus on elevating white people. And it just becomes this kind of tit-for-tat racial response that I don't think is actually conservative. And so when I think of the depth of the conservative movement, I think of the work that Hillsdale does, for instance, of keeping the philosophy, the foundations, the pillars, the Aristotle, the Edmund Burke, Russell Kirk, William F. Buckley, God and Man at Yale, and all this that we inherited that comes up. Now, I think you can absolutely debate within the conservative movement, right? Does establishing democracies in the Middle East require you to be a conservative? No. And I think conservatives can critique the neocon movement and go, you lost the game here. And you got distracted and you went and started trying to establish democracies in places like Afghanistan and Iraq that were never going to embrace democracies. And that was a losing proposition and a big waste of time, treasure, talent, blood in the Middle East. That's a debate that can happen within conservatism. But I just found that the first hour and a half and everything that Nick Fuentes talked about with Tucker was just reactionary to the left as opposed to foundational on what it actually means to be a conservative. So, I don't know. I just, I didn't find it particularly enlightening or inspiring.
Now, I think that in ways you are both right and wrong. Surprise! As if that doesn't ever happen here on the show. And your opinion of me as well goes that way as well. So I think you're right that it is ignorance of the long stretch of history of conservatism. But I think you're wrong in not that it doesn't reflect modern conservatism, but that it reflects the modern Republican Party, and especially MAGA. I think that's what Fuentes is mirroring. And I think, and I'll lay it out kind of just easily in two different cases. One being the case you talk about how there was a concerted effort post Mitt Romney to get away from the country club Republicans and go to the working class and kind of start to sell that message there. And then coming out of that, bubbled many other little things, but that gave rise in many ways to MAGA. That Donald Trump came down and he's the idea of the populist message of I'm the one fighting for you. These pointy-head intellectuals, this deep state, this group of illegals that have been coming in here. Here are all the people that are preventing you from succeeding. And there is nothing that I see in the larger philosophy of MAGA that fits in neatly with the longer arc of conservatism. And I think that's the problem. I've spoken before, and you and I talked about it off the air, that one of the dangers to the GOP was that Donald Trump was going to get in the House and try to burn it down. And I think in some ways that's what we're seeing. And by the House, what I mean is that structure and framework of the historical values of conservatism. He is torching those in many ways because that's not important to MAGA. That's not important to Trump. What's important to MAGA and Trump is Trump and Trump's leadership and what Trump is able to do. Everything else be damned. Everybody else is a problem. Everybody else is in the way. How many times have we even heard MAGA say that judges appointed by Trump are liberals in disguise? So if it doesn't
I've heard
fit,
it a few times, but
Yeah.
I disagree because
Yeah, why?
a few things. One, remember, Nick Fuentes did not vote for Trump this last go around, and has in fact been rather critical.
Yes, he has.
And so
at one time he was a supporter.
Yes,
both
correct.
sides, yep.
And so he's moved into a position in opposition to Trump. But can you say that certain aspects of Trump's policies, maybe around debt, for instance, don't align with traditional conservative values of wanting to reform Social Security, Medicaid, those types of things, and shrink the government? Sure, I think that's a fair critique. But I think MAGA in many ways is an absolute return and embrace to conservative values. One, the role that Christianity plays at the center of MAGA is really important. So you saw that at Charlie Kirk's funeral, where it's like literally everybody gets up there. Now you could say Donald Trump wasn't the best proclaimer of the gospel, but his willingness to put Christianity and the idea that there's a God back at the center of our political experiment is absolutely, like, that's foundational to what the conservative worldview is, right? We have a limited government because that's the way God set up the world. And that becomes foundational to the philosophies that we're advocating for. So I'm not quite sure I agree with you that MAGA is some big departure from the conservative movement.
Well, I would stretch to say that Donald Trump is necessarily in favor of limited government. There are all sorts of actions that he takes that doesn't look at limited government.
And I think
what I'm talking
you
about.
can make in some aspects you can make an argument there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about.
Look at Doge. Doge was a big effort
failure
to try to reduce the size of the government. But you can't say in one breath that Trump loves big government and then also seeks to cut it aggressively.
I would disagree that he's seeking to cut what he views as Democrat things out of the government aggressively. He's not looking to cut necessarily aggressively, and part of that is both deficit spending and the debt has gone up. So the idea of core cutting and savings doesn't necessarily exist. It's a switch and a transference. He's not trying necessarily in places where he likes things to expand. He's trying to expand those programs. He's not cutting those programs universally. And so it's the idea that, remember, he went after, now he did say waste, fraud, and abuse. We haven't seen, it's fraud, waste, and abuse. We haven't seen the fraud. Nobody's been charged under fraudulent based on the cuts of Doge. Waste and abuse is somewhat based on perception. Certain people on the Democrat side of things would view waste in one way that Republicans wouldn't, and vice versa. So that was more, to me, the idea of a list of priorities, not necessarily a list of things that had to be cut, and nor was it necessarily efficient, and it's turned around and hasn't necessarily been efficient. So I think that was more window dressing than actually doing something. And I would push back a little bit based on the idea that bringing conservatism back into the center of the party. I lived through Reagan. Christianity being center of the party. Christianity was central there. It was central under Bush, under both Bushes. For the GOP, the message of Christianity has always been central in my mind inside of that party, not for the Democrats. So I would disagree with the idea that Donald Trump brought that back into fashion inside the conservative movement or inside the GOP. I think the difference is somehow Donald Trump has convinced a portion of MAGA that he has been anointed. That's the difference. I never saw anybody talk about Reagan or Bush as being anointed the way they have about Trump, that God has chosen him. I didn't hear that about Romney. I didn't hear that about Santorum. I didn't hear that about Bush, one or two. I didn't hear that about Reagan. That's different. That's a different level of Christianity that has entered, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's in part due to the aggressiveness of the left and this feeling like God intervened to try to save America from this godless progressivism that was taking place. But Peggy Noonan had a really interesting article following Charlie Kirk's memorial, detailing how at one point under Reagan, the Gary Bowers were kind of these little side pieces that existed within the Reagan Revolution, that he was there for sure, but he wasn't as nearly as powerful as evangelicals have become under Trump. Trump has put them front and center, and you saw that at Charlie Kirk's memorial. Well, we'd love to hear from you. Did you get a chance to watch the Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson discussion? What did you think about it? What do you think about modern conservatism? Is there an element that's kind of lost its connection with the conservatism of the past? Do you see that as good? Do you see that as problematic? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Speaking of Dan Caplis, Dan suggests you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan Caplis is the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who've been hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S Law.com. Dan with a big victory. I mean, a big victory. $200 million for the family that lost the little girl in that Glenwood Springs amusement park accident. And he was able to expose really systemic problems with the company that was running that amusement park. And as a result, it's probably made all of our lives safer. So Dan's a real winner. If you need his help, give him a call. Again, that phone number, 303-770-5551. All right, we'll continue. Text messages pouring in. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're discussing the Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes conversation that took place. It was released yesterday or the day before, but got around to watching it last night. And I just, I found it rather shallow. It felt like because Nick hasn't been formed in what it actually means to be a conservative, like the philosophical underpinnings of what it means to be a conservative, that he's just very reactionary to everything. So he's reactionary to the Jews. He's reactionary to what I think is the race obsession of the left, and he counters it by being equally race obsessed. So you kind of like, well, that's not the conservative worldview. And oftentimes we get these text messages that come into the show too that are just racist.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, well, hello?
Yeah.
Can we go back to the founding of the Republican Party as the anti-slavery party?
Yeah.
We're the ones that fight against affirmative action because we believe it's the content of the character that should be recognized. Anyways, I just found it a perfect example of what happens if you run into the political realm and without strong philosophical underpinnings. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Harvey in Littleton. Good morning, Harvey. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Yeah, I think the Fuentes conversation is interesting because I don't really know any other 30-year-olds who listen to Nick Fuentes or could care about anything he has to say. Like for me, I saw that podcast pop up and avoided listening to it at all costs. Like he is not somebody who I immediately hear of and think represents any conservative in their 30s.
Now, Harvey, I want to stop you right there just for a sec. What about Tucker? Do you have the same views of Tucker, or do you think he has more influence? I'm just asking for just informational purposes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it goes back to not just Tucker, not just Joe Rogan, not just Nick, not just Dave Smith, not just your show. It's like, who do you have on? Like who is the individual guest that individual is interviewing, more so than is it Tucker Carlson? Is he the gospel? It's like you have so much choice nowadays to be able to go and consume information. Who can I go and listen to where I'm actually going to ingest information, where I'm going to learn something, right? Like you guys are older than me. There's information to gain from listening to you in the morning. Is there information to gain from a 27-year-old college dropout who appears to be pretty racist that is now riding the hype train of the conservative pop culture movement? No.
And I think, Harvey, that represents a lot of maturity because you're basically choosing the type of diet, like you're not eating junk food. You know that the impact it would have on your body. You do the same thing with who you choose to consume, which is admirable. I find it interesting because he does have a big following, particularly this group called the Groypers, which I've interacted with only briefly one time, and I found it incredibly vicious and mean.
Yeah,
but he does have a following.
Isn't Antifa a pretty big following as well?
Yeah, and that's why I go down and interview him.
Yeah, but not a Fuentes.
Like
Antifa's not a follower of Fuentes. They disagree on a number of things. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to play the counter of obviously I know Jeff's obviously conservative. I'm just saying the counter to that is Antifa has a large following too, right? So I think when you talk about the shift of the conservative movement, the thing that comes to mind for me is it's really hard when you're looking at it through the political lens. But if you look at it from the pop culture lens, you get a better perspective. If you start looking at it from the eyes of, let's say, J.K. Rowling, right? She's a great example of somebody, when you grow up, things like Harry Potter are developed. There was a time growing up, because in the 90s when I grew up and that was out, you had a lot of people, I got maybe it was early 2000s more of those movies, but when you grow up and you start watching that and you see the backlash from very, Christian folks back in the day saying, oh, this is like devil worship, right? That was also on the fringes. And then now you see how much they're like, the liberal party is berating a J.K. Rowling. It's almost like the goalposts have moved. People and their stances on certain items or opinions have not moved. It's the political parties' pillars that continue to move. And I think the pop culture of like modern society is not moving as hardcore as people would think.
Okay, now, Harvey, we got to go here in a second, but a last question. I'm not sure this is going to be fair, but I just want your personal opinion. This is what I want, okay? Harvey, you're here today in Denver, Colorado, and a space alien arrives. You're sitting in the park, It arrives next to you. And for whatever reason, this alien says, we've been monitoring your transmissions. Explain to me, what is modern American conservatism? What is that 30-second elevator speech you would give to the alien to explain modern American conservatism?
I would say that it's back to the America First perspective. I would say that the modern can I give it from an American
whatever
perspective?
dude, it is your perspective. It is your opinion. You do whatever you want with it, my friend.
I would have to say that you would have to say, hey, look, on this earth, we look at everything from a nationalistic perspective, depending on what country you're in, and we're all different tribes within each country. The modern conservative movement inside of America is looking out for the well-being of every individual child that we're trying to bring into this world, that we're trying to give them a better future, and we're trying to make sure that the policies and the things that we put in place will make sure that future generations that we're trying to raise and groom are going to have a successful future, be happy, be healthy, and be prosperous.
Hey,
right.
Nicely done, Harvey. I like
Thanks,
that.
Harvey.
Just be careful using that word groom. That doesn't work out so well in many other things. I'm just saying, man. But thanks for the phone call and thanks for the good thoughts. Appreciate you, man.
All right, Harvey from Littleton. His line will be open if you want to join the conversation. We'll be coming back with You Choose the News. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's that time of the morning. We help get you up with a little silliness. Bill Thorpe's You Choose the News.
Yes, it's that moment of the morning for frivolity. We take our careers in our hands because we learned that everybody in charge doesn't arise until 7 o'clock. So we started this fake radio news game show, You Choose the News. Now, this is how it works. I spend just moments every morning finding really dumb stories about us humans, giving them more ridiculous headlines so that we can share a little bit of laughter before your day starts. So we got a couple of moments here. As always, we bring in Blake Olson from our news department. Gentlemen, here are our choices this morning. Headline number 1, not too fast. Headline number 2, keeping them grounded. Headline number 3, chasing a dream. And headline number 4, why can't we be friends?
Why can't we be friends?
Why can't we be friends? God, we suck at karaoke. All right. Here we go. We should all go karaoke sometimes. It's going to be just a mess. Okay.
Let's do it, man.
That'd be so funny.
Patty Calhoun's offered to take us out.
Yeah, she should.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to take us around Denver. We're going to film it.
Yeah,
karaoke should totally be part
Although
of
I have
that.
a feeling that she's planning to have me arrested at some point, which I'm not saying I'm against, nor not that I don't deserve, but okay.
Make sure Jeff has his video camera.
Yes, exactly. Here we go, guys. Okay, we find ourselves in Russia for this one. Recently, a Russian Ka-52 attack helicopter was shot down. It was involved in repelling Ukrainian drone attack inside of Russia. Problem is, it's friendly fire that brought down their helicopter. Yes, the Russians proudly shot down one of their own. Nicely done. This would be a horrible tragedy if it wasn't the, wait, a little bit of math, 17th time. Yeah, 17th time they have shot down their own aircraft. Yeah, wow. Nice job there. Yes.
17.
Yep, 12 planes, 5 helicopters. So I guess, if you're attacking Russia, just shoot at whatever's moving. I guess that's the rule now. Yeah, so I'm just saying they're shooting down their own stuff. That's good job, guys. I know. What a crack military that is. All right. Now, Blake, not too fast, keeping them grounded or chasing a dream?
Chasing a dream.
Chasing a dream. When you're furloughed by the government, maybe you go off and start chasing your dream. This is the story of Isaac Stein of New York City. Of Washington, D.C. Got the wrong location here, wrong byline. So Isaac Stein of Washington, D.C. Normally, he is a high-powered lawyer for the IRS who writes tax regulations. Yes, we hate him. But now he has been furloughed. And on any sunny afternoon, you can find him on a sunny corner in D.C., hawking hot dogs. He has followed his dream. He's always wanted to run a hot dog stand, so he opened Shyster's Dogs, the only honest ripoff in D.C. That's his tagline. Now, here's the deal. A hot dog and drink runs $10 or $17 with a bag of chips if you buy 2 dogs. They'll toss them in for free. But here's the really cool thing. The stand is a realization of Stein's childhood dream. While he and his classmates enjoyed playing basketball, he had more fun manning the concession stand during high school. So this summer, he decided to chase his dream once he was furloughed and open his own hot dog business.
Love it.
And he's being as honest as possible. He says, hey, you get the honest dog, which is exactly how he thinks it should be prepared. It's $10. If you want to add other stuff on there, like ketchup and things, that's going to be an additional $1 because you don't know what you're doing. So he charges you an extra $1 if he doesn't like your toppings. Also, he does have some other things in there. A 5-cent discount if you can briefly recite the historical significance of moon pies or RC Cola, the only desserts and the only drinks he sells. Also available on the menu for $1,000, it is shirt off his back. He said if you cough up a solid grand, he will literally strip half naked and walk home. So there are options, people. Just saying. I love the idea that he's like, this is how the dog should be served. I'm going to charge you extra if you want to put other stuff on it. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. All right, Jeff, final choice. Not too fast or keeping them grounded?
Not too fast.
Yeah, not too fast. In Slovakia now, no more speed walking. Even pedestrians are going to have to adhere to a speed limit. Kicking off next year, you cannot walk faster than 3.7 miles per hour on the sidewalks. Nope, no more speed walking, kids. Can't get in your steps. Part of this is because they needed to do something about collisions with scooter riders, and this pedestrian law is also going to apply to the scooters, and the people can't zip around on the scooters anymore. So that's the reason it's there, but they're also going to make sure you're not walking too fast. Yeah, stop burning those calories. All right, that's the end of Choose the News. Back to you, Jeff.
All right, coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, SNAP benefits are about to be cut. 42 million people. We'll talk about it. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS.